My name is Clara. I'm 31 years old, and my life unfolds in the quiet rhythms of San Diego, a sprawling coastal city in the United States. I own a small flower shop, a little haven of color and fragrance nestled near the beach. My days are peaceful, marked by the simple acts of opening the shop each morning, arranging bouquets, and helping customers find the right flowers for their moments. In the evenings, I return to my cozy apartment where I enjoy tea, lose myself in books, or take long walks by the sea. I have one truly close friend, Chloe. She lives nearby, and we often meet to talk about life, our dreams, and our disappointments. I wasn't looking for love. A few painful relationships in the past had taught me to value my solitude. I didn't want more heartache, I craved peace. But sometimes love arrives when you least expect it, when you're not ready at all. That's what happened to me. His name was Ethan. He walked into my shop on a Monday afternoon, looking for a bouquet for his office. He was polite, with a calm presence that stood out. He had kind eyes and a smile that seemed to warm the entire room. He asked me about the flowers, and I explained which ones were the freshest. He listened intently. Unlike most customers who were always in a rush, he was different. Before he left, he smiled and said, "Thank you, Clara. You've made my day better." The following week, he returned. This time, he needed flowers for his daughter's school play. We talked again. He asked if I enjoyed my work, if I had grown up in San Diego. I loved that he asked questions and seemed genuinely interested in my answers. His visits became a regular part of my week, sometimes once, sometimes twice. Our conversations grew longer and deeper. He told me about his job in a small downtown office, admitting his life was busy and at times lonely. I shared stories about my shop and my friendship with Chloe. We found easy laughter together. Soon, he started staying longer each time he visited. One evening, he arrived just as I was closing. He helped me carry in some heavy boxes and stayed while I swept the floor. I made us some tea, and we sat in the back room, surrounded by the quiet fragrance of flowers. "This place feels like home," he said softly. I just smiled, unsure of what to say. But inside, I felt a small, warm flicker in the quiet chambers of my heart. I began to look forward to his visits. Ethan was incredibly kind. He remembered my favorite flowers and would bring me coffee on chilly mornings. He told jokes to cheer me up when I looked tired and even helped me once when my car broke down. With him, I felt safe. I started to care for him more than I wanted to admit. I was falling for him, despite my resolution to stay alone. After 2 months, he asked me to dinner. I said yes. We went to a small restaurant overlooking the ocean. It was a perfect evening filled with hours of conversation. I felt a sense of happiness I hadn't experienced in years. At the end of the night, as he walked me to my car, he held my hand for a moment. My heart swelled with warmth. We began seeing each other more often, meeting after work or on weekends. We kept it to ourselves, a quiet secret that felt precious and special. I didn't mind. The time we spent together felt real, like a beautiful dream I never wanted to wake from. But then one Saturday afternoon, everything shattered. I was helping Ethan clean his car when his phone rang. He stepped away to answer it. I didn't mean to snoop, but the screen lit up with a name. "Call from Olivia, wife." Wife. The word hit me like a physical blow. My heart plummeted into a cold, empty space. I stood frozen. I hadn't known he was married. When he came back, I said nothing. I needed to hear the truth from his own lips. That evening, we sat on a bench by the sea as the sky blushed with the colors of sunset. I turned to him and asked, "Are you married?" He looked down at his hands, silent for a long moment. Then he finally whispered, "Yes, I am." The world around me seemed to stop. I could hear the rhythmic crash of the waves, but everything else was muted. A sharp pain bloomed in my chest. "I didn't want to lie to you," he said, his voice strained. "But I didn't know how to tell you. My marriage is over in all but name. We live in the same house, but there's no love. I stay for my children. They're still so young." I couldn't find any words. I just stood up and walked away, my heart pounding in my ears, my eyes burning with unshed tears. That night, sleep was impossible. My mind raced with questions. Why hadn't he told me? Was anything we shared real? Yet amidst the anger and betrayal, I remembered his smile, his kindness, his gentle words. I was furious, but I already missed him. I was completely lost. The next morning, a message from him appeared. "I'm so sorry, I miss you." I didn't reply. Chloe came over later that day, and I told her everything. Her face filled with sadness as she took my hand. "You need to think about yourself, Clara," she said gently. "You have to ask yourself if this is what you truly want." For days, I avoided Ethan, but I couldn't stop thinking about him. I cried when I was alone. I stared at my phone, waiting. After a week of silence, he came to the shop. "I still care about you," he said, his eyes pleading. "I know this is wrong, but I can't lose you." We talked for a long time. I told him how hurt I was, how foolish I felt. He didn't defend himself. He just said, "I understand." And then I made a choice. I stayed. You might think I was making a terrible mistake, that I should have walked away for good. And maybe you're right. But in that moment, I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that one day he would leave his wife, that I could be more than just the other woman. I wanted to be the one he would finally choose. So our secret life resumed. He would come to my apartment, but never for too long. We never went out on public dates. We never took photos together. I told no one except Chloe, who never judged me, though I could see the constant worry in her eyes. At first, the stolen moments were enough to make me happy. He would bring me flowers, cook dinner, and we would watch movies and laugh. I told myself that this complicated love was worth the wait. But slowly, the waiting began to outweigh the joy. I found myself smiling less. I spent more nights alone while he was at home with his family. I stopped reading my books, stopped my walks by the sea. I was starting to forget the person I was before him. Days melted into weeks, then months. Ethan still visited, but less frequently. When he was with me, he was wonderful. He brought my favorite takeout, played soft music, kissed my forehead, and called me beautiful. But the moment he left, a profound emptiness would fill the room. The silence was deafening, and my heart felt heavy. He rarely spoke of his wife, but I knew he was still living with her, still a father to his 2 young children. Sometimes he'd show me their photos. They always looked so happy together. It gave me a strange, hollow feeling. I wanted to be happy for them, but it was a constant reminder that I was an outsider, a secret kept in the shadows. I stopped asking questions about his future plans. I was afraid of upsetting him, of pushing him away. I just told myself to be patient, that one day he would choose me. But as time went on, my certainty faded. His reasons for staying were always the same. "It's not the right time. The kids are too small. She's going through a difficult time." He had an endless supply of reasons, but never a concrete plan. The exhaustion began to set in. I lived my life waiting for his texts. I stayed home on weekends, just in case he could get away. My world had become so small. I drifted away from Chloe, declining her invitations for weekend walks. She would ask if I was okay, and I would always say yes, but I wasn't. I missed the old me, the one who laughed freely and felt light. Now my life was a constant state of waiting. One night I sat alone in my apartment, staring at a bouquet of flowers on my table. They were from him. I touched the petals. They were dry and wilted. I had forgotten to water them, forgotten to care for them. Just as I had forgotten to care for myself. I looked at my phone. No new messages. My fingers hovered over his name, wanting to type, "I miss you." But I stopped myself. Instead, I put on my coat and walked to the beach. The cold wind felt sharp against my face. The moon was a bright sliver in the dark sky. I sat on a bench, listening to the waves, and thought about love, about hope. I asked myself, is this real love, or is it just a painful wish? I went home and cried into my pillow, a deep, sorrowful cry. I cried because I loved him, but also because I was so lost. I was in love, but I had never felt more lonely. I had someone, but he was never truly mine. The next morning, his message came. "I miss you. Can I see you tonight?" I said yes. I always said yes. He arrived with a smile and a bottle of wine. He hugged me, kissed me, and whispered, "You're all I think about." But this time, I couldn't return his smile. "Do you ever think about us?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what is this? What am I to you?" He sat down, avoiding my eyes. "You are so important to me, Clara, you know that. But am I just a secret?" I pressed, the tears finally welling in my eyes. He looked down. "It's not that simple. I have children. They need me." "I know," I said, my voice breaking. "But I need someone too, someone who chooses me." He took my hand. "Please don't leave me," he pleaded. "I love you." I looked at him, wanting so desperately to believe those words. And maybe in his own way he did. But I was beginning to understand that love isn't just a feeling or a word. Love is action. Love is truth. Love is light, not a life lived in shadows. That night I didn't sleep. The next morning I went to the shop early and sat behind the counter, surrounded by the vibrant colors of the flowers. Inside, I felt completely gray. Later, Chloe stopped by with coffee. "You look tired," she said. "I am," I admitted. We sat in the back room and I told her everything, pouring out all the confusion and sadness. "I think I'm losing myself," I confessed. "I don't laugh anymore. I don't feel like me." Chloe looked at me with such kindness. "I'm your friend, Clara. I won't tell you what to do, but I want to ask you something. Do you feel loved? Do you feel safe? Do you feel seen?" I couldn't answer. I just broke down and cried. "Love shouldn't feel like this," she said softly. "Love should make you feel more alive, not less." I knew she was right. It was a hard truth to accept. I had given so much of my heart to Ethan, and the thought of losing him was terrifying. But the thought of losing myself was even worse. That night, I didn't reply to his message. He sent another. "Is everything okay?" I ignored it. He called. I let it go to voicemail. For 3 days, I embraced the silence. I went to work, walked by the sea, drank my tea, and tried to breathe. On the 4th day, he came to the shop. He looked exhausted, his hair unkempt, his eyes full of sadness. "Clara, please talk to me," he begged. I looked at him, a part of me wanting to run into his arms, but I held my ground. "I need time," I said. "I need to think." "Think about what?" He asked. "About us. About me," I corrected him. "About what I want." "Don't do this," he said, his voice cracking. "We have something special." "I know," I said, "but I'm always waiting, I'm always second, and I don't want that anymore." He looked deeply hurt. "I love you," he said one last time. "I believe you do," I replied, "but that's not enough anymore." He reached for my hand, but I instinctively stepped back. "I need space," I said. "Please." He didn't argue. He just looked at me for a long, painful moment, then turned and walked out of the shop. As the door clicked shut, I sank to the floor and wept. But these weren't tears of weakness. They were tears of strength for finally saying what I needed, for choosing myself. That night, I wrote in my journal about love, pain, and hope. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain. I wanted my life back. After Ethan left, I sat in the quiet shop for a long time. The flowers around me were vibrant, but I felt drained. I hadn't felt a moment of true peace in months. I decided I needed a real break. I took some time off work, packed a small bag, and took a train to visit my aunt in Santa Barbara. The journey was peaceful. Watching the ocean glide past the window, I felt a sense of calm I hadn't realized I was missing. My aunt's small house in the hills was a sanctuary. She gave me tea and soup, and she never asked difficult questions. She just let me be. For the first time in a long time, I slept soundly. During the day, I read and walked in the sunshine. One afternoon, sitting in a garden, I saw a young couple walk by, holding hands and smiling. A pang of sadness touched my heart. I still wanted love, but I wanted the right kind of love. A love that didn't require me to be hidden. A love that wasn't a second choice. When I returned to San Diego, I felt stronger. I aired out my apartment, bought myself fresh flowers, and reread my old journals. It was painful to see how sad I had been, how much I had given for so little in return. The truth was becoming clearer. Ethan still sent messages occasionally, simple notes like "I miss you" or "Can we talk?" I never replied. I didn't block him. I just let the silence be my answer. I needed to find myself again. Chloe was thrilled to see the change in me. "You look better," she said, hugging me tightly. "I feel better," I told her, and it was true. We went for coffee, and our laughter felt easy and familiar again. A few weeks later, I saw a sign in a local bookstore window, "Writing Group New Members Welcome." On an impulse, I went inside. The following Tuesday, I joined the group. We sat in a circle, sharing our stories. The atmosphere was warm and encouraging. It gave me a new focus, a new space to exist. That's where I met Adam. He was tall and had a quiet strength about him. He wrote about nature and his travels, spoke softly, and always looked you in the eye. After one meeting, he walked with me to get coffee. "You have a soft voice," he said, "but your words are powerful." I smiled, a real unforced smile. We started talking after every meeting. It was easy and unhurried. I felt safe with him. One evening after the group, we walked by the sea under a sky full of stars. I told him a little about my past. "I was with someone who couldn't choose me," I said. It made me feel small. He just nodded, his expression kind. "I'm sorry," he said. "No one should be made to feel that way." That night, I went home and felt a sense of peace. I didn't miss Ethan. I didn't wait for a message. Adam and I continued to see each other, letting things develop naturally. There was no pressure, no secrets. We took walks, we talked, he brought me tea when I was sick, and he helped me fix a broken chair. He made me laugh. He made me feel like myself again. One Saturday, he came to the flower shop and waited for me to finish work. We walked to the park. "Would you like to have dinner with me tonight?" he asked. I said yes. We made pasta at my apartment. We talked about books and listened to music. When he left, he said, "You're special, Clara. I'm happy I met you." His words were light and kind, and they settled in my heart. As weeks turned into months, Ethan's name faded from my phone and my mind. I think he finally understood. One Sunday, while cleaning out a closet, I found a small box with a single photo of me and Ethan, one we had taken in secret. I looked at it for a moment, then dropped it into the trash. There were no tears. I was ready to let go. Later that day, I was at the beach with Adam. We sat on a bench watching the waves. "Do you still think about him?" he asked gently. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but not with pain anymore." That's good, he said. I looked at him. You make me feel safe. He smiled. That's all I want. We sat in comfortable silence, side by side. It was quiet, it was real, it was honest. Looking back, I don't feel hatred for Ethan. I think he was just as lost as I was, but the experience taught me something invaluable. I learned that love isn't real when it has to be hidden. It isn't kind when it causes constant pain. It isn't true if it only exists in the shadows. Real love feels safe. It feels free. It allows you to grow. Now I wake up each morning feeling calm. I go to my flower shop with peace in my heart. I have coffee with Chloe. I write in my journal. I spend time with Adam. I smile more. I laugh often. I am no longer waiting. I am living. If you were to ask me now if the pain was worth it, I would say yes. Because through it all, I found myself again. And that, I've learned, is the greatest love of all.